In order to get the most out of your timber products, you have to know how to maintain them over time. Hi, I'm Alex from Ruby UK, and today I'll teach you how to make sure your entrance gates stand the test of time. We'll be using Osmo products. Osmo oils and waxes are the professional choice for timber treatments. They are going to help your timber repel moisture, resist rot, and retain their colour. When you buy gates, they're most likely going to be a plain, smooth timber. This is a great way to finish your timber. However, if you plan on staining or oiling your wood, you're going to want to sand the visible surfaces. This is going to remove the mill finish that can block oil from soaking into the wood. Now, it's recommended you start off with a rough grit sandpaper before working your way through the grades, finishing with a P60. If you do have access to a handheld belt sander, that's ideal because you can go in the direction of the grain. Now that's out of the way, let's talk treatment. As we're using redwood today, we'll start with applying an end grain sealing wax. Because the end grain of timber is so susceptible to moisture, leading to cracking and other problems. We're going to apply 2 coats of this special wax to all of the exposed end grain, which will seal out moisture while letting the timber breathe out tannins and resins, helping stabilise the timber over time. Now that we've applied our end grain wax, it's time to wait. 12 weeks in fact. This gives the wood long enough to breathe and acclimatise to its new environment. If we didn't let the timber acclimatise, it would be much more likely to suffer from splits, cracks and warping. Before we continue applying treatments, we'll give it a quick wash with a wood reviver before giving it another light sand. The wood reviver is going to help restore the look of fresh timber and reverse some of the silvering process. This can be done with just a decking brush, a hose, a bucket or a watering can. If your gate has been hung, gently brush off any debris and wet down the surface before applying the wood reviver. I should probably note that pressure washers should be avoided as they can damage the timber. Try to work with the timber, following the direction of the grain. The chemical reaction takes about 20 minutes to get going, so pop off to the shops or go make a cup of tea. Now that the reaction has had time to work its magic, give it a quick rinse. Wait 48 hours to dry off, ideally in dry weather, and give it another light sanding. At this point, we can finally start putting the final finish on our gate. Now here I've got 2 different finishing oils, one clear and one tinted. This one is a UV protection clear coat for when you're already happy with the colour of your timber and just want to preserve it. The oil will soak into the wood and provide a water and dirt proof barrier. If you're looking to stain your wood, this one will do all of that with an additional tint. Please note that this isn't a paint and won't mask anything. Now this stuff is quite messy, so put on your gloves and perhaps put down some newspaper or an old dust sheet. Then we're just going to dip a clean brush or roller into the oil and give it a coat. If you do opt for a roller, just make sure it's clean and free of loose fluff. We'll start by getting plenty of our chosen oil onto our applicator and start to spread the oil across our gate. We want to push that oil in through all the pores that we've opened up and soak it all throughout the surface layers, working with the grain for maximum penetration. On paper, this oil should be applied at a rate of 55 ml per square metre per coat. So if you wanted to do some maths, you can measure out the square meterage of your gate surface, measure out your oil accordingly, and hope you got it all correct. When we're applying our oil, to get a nice even coat and ensure we've put as much oil into the wood as it'll take, we want to put down a fairly thick layer and keep working it in with our brush and roller as much as we can until we can touch it and the surface is slick and slightly greasy. Now we have to let this dry out for at least 12 hours, somewhere with good ventilation. Make sure you store your cans and applicators out of direct sunlight and away from sources of ignition because they can be a fire risk. It's also worth cleaning off or wrapping your brush or roller in cling film. This is going to make sure it doesn't dry out. At this point, the oil that I applied yesterday should all be dry. So now that that's soaked up all the lovely oil and pigment, we have a choice. If you'd like to sand the surface of your gate to a slightly finer finish, now would be the time. Now that the first coat of oil is soaked in, you can go up to a P80 or even slightly higher because the timber has already started to soak up some of the gorgeous colour. You can then just repeat the process we followed earlier and give it another coating of oil, again leaving it for at least 12 hours in a well-ventilated space, away from sources of ignition. At this point, we can just clean our brushes and clear away. So that's how you do your first maintenance on your new redwood gates. It's important to note that no treatment is foolproof, so your gates will need checking in on about every 6 to 12 months, depending on your local weather conditions. When you're doing your regular maintenance on your gates, they'll stay free of common problems like shrinkage, expansion, splitting and cracking, and warping, and look all the better for it. If you've got any questions about our handmade gates or our wide range of timber products here at Ruby, you can get in touch with our team over the phone or via live chat. Don't forget, if you're looking for more useful guides, you can subscribe here on YouTube, follow on socials, or head to our site. I'll see you next time.